Good morning, good afternoon. Don't say good night yet. This is Max with the RHMax channel. I am pumped today. I am pumped. We have FundingGym in the house. Name kind of makes me want to work out, but I know the story. I've seen it a few. I've been watching his streams for a while. I think I know where it comes from. I'm going to ask him though. I know there was some San Francisco incubator stuff. Kind of have a feeling that might be where the story's going. We'll see though. We have the man himself ready to tell us all about it. We're going to get into HEX, PulseChain, some real estate, some market stuff, some Richard Heart stuff as well. So without further ado, let's bring in FundingGym. Welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? How's it going? It's good to be on a show talking about the most incredible asset I've ever come across. So looking forward to this conversation.
Best appreciating superior product. We've all heard it from Richard Heart himself and many of his followers, cohorts, and just people who are a fan of him, his ideals, and his way of doing things, his products. I mean, a lot of good stuff going on in the Richard Heart ecosystem. That's something. So I came on your stream. I've been following you for a while, and always enjoy your streams. I mean, you're one of the few people who I can watch. If I'm going down the road, or I can put on audio only and just listen for a while, because talk about some very interesting things that not a lot of other streamers talk about, because you have real work experience in real estate and markets and capital and all this stuff. So that's why I wanted to get you on the show. They say never meet your heroes, but I think this is going to turn into a good conversation. Plenty of topics to get to, but first, let me talk to the chat. Chance Nicely's here. Sell HEX, appreciate it. Bit Finesse, got a few regulars here. Maybe some of your regulars too might be coming over. We'll see. Firefighting 82. Be careful with those fires. What's up, fellas? Hello, FundingGym from Sell HEX, aka Gameon. Gameon is a regular here, probably on your channel as well, I imagine. So I'll share the link. We'll do a pause in the middle of the stream to get you to, if you haven't already, hit that sub button. That helps me be able to get people to want to come on the show, because nobody wants to come on a show that's got 100 subs or so, or it's much harder to get them to at least. So we're going to get into some interesting stuff, get a little bit more intimate throughout the scene. I know all of us are nervous. FundingGym, he's not trembling too much because he's ready to spew some cool information. Jerry Oaksmith, it is super nice out, Jerry. That's true. Post a picture of yourself. I don't, GRC told me I should get an Instagram and start, really revealing more about, reveal more about Max and have some casual photos. I don't know. I kind of like the hexagons in the background myself. A lot of people like you, man. A lot of people love FundingGym. I gotta see. I'm gonna put some more. We're gonna get a little bit more Celeste Fest, and then get into the backstory of. I want some clarification on your name. I think that, we got somebody from Miami here. Herberto Gonzalez. Nice. Yeah.
Humberto.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So I think, I've listened to your streams a lot. I probably heard 7 different variations of a lot of your background, military, incubator, San Francisco, medical field, things like that. But could you just give us especially curious to FundingGym, am I right in saying that it comes from the incubator type deal? Is that kind of the origins from it? But I'll let you get into it. Just how you got into crypto, get a little bit of your backstory, how you found Richard Heart products and him himself, all that.
Yeah, I think when we did our 1 year meetup or something like that online, I created a 5 or 6 minute video about like my background, my history or whatever. But the real quick synopsis is, started out blue collar, if you want to call it that, farming, agriculture, Northeast Texas, cattle country. So this idea of sound money, or sound, something that you have as seed that becomes crop, something that has as cattle or horse and becomes calf and foal, that kind of your savings working for you. That's what the agriculture world is about. And that was my origin. When I was 15 or 16, I wanted to be independent. As far as like my background in credit development, personal and leverage of finance related stuff kind of started about then. I got taught about, credit scores and stuff like that when I was 13 or 14. And I did some daisy chain kind of stuff. I'll talk about it maybe a different time, of how you start your credit. And in Louisiana, which is where I lived at the time, you could get a social security number and you could start a bank account when you turned 14. So when I turned 14, my dad actually took me out of school for a day or so, and we went to 4 or 5 different banks. And he had made me save up money, like $500 or something like that, before $1,000 before this happened. And then I went with him, and he started on the same day at 5 different banks, savings account, a loan from each bank against that savings account. And then I had to start paying bills at 14 turning 15. So
that's
like
awesome.
So I started learning about finance early, versus farming and things like that. It's all about getting through the winter. What's your actual profit from the year? Like bookkeeping and agriculture has to do with being actually productive. Like, what is the market buying from you that you've made over the past 3 to 4 months, or some kind of a cycle. So that was my start. The military came fairly quickly after that. I joined the service when I was 17, graduated from high school. I never really had like a militant personality, but it was like a cultural norm in North Texas to join the service. And I chose the Navy because they had the best education for me, and they were going to throw me the furthest outside of Texas to other places. So I chose the Navy because they had boats and I would go places.
Nice.
My start was again, Special Forces, was a volunteer. I went to all kinds of schools, tons of schools, having to do with scuba diving, having to do with jumping out of planes, and combat medic stuff. I deployed in the first Gulf War. I was within the first 500 people deployed in air whenever Saddam invaded Kuwait. Spent 13 months in country in that event.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff there that I've gone over in the past, but basically I was saying that I have a farming background, a military background, the startup culture background, the Silicon Valley startup world background happened later, like in my mid 30s. And FundingGym, the idea or the name of FundingGym really comes from trying to help internationals that had no business credit, no personal credit, and they couldn't get an apartment or an office space in Palo Alto in California to launch their idea, or they couldn't get VC. They would give up a lot of the equity in their idea to a VC or an angel, just basically to get money when they could have used credit. They could have used business savvy. So FundingGym was about building up your body, but building up your credit ability, your funding access. That's where that started from.
Nice. I get it now. All right.
Yeah.
Well, also if it was from so my original guess was, the FundingGym would be the incubator where, you were the gym to get funding and all this stuff. But no, I see it's a little bit different. Cool story. Very cool. So how,
part of that was the accelerator. I launched an accelerator in 2014 to 17, and it was running 1 block away from Steve Jobs' house, 2 blocks away from founder of Google, 5 blocks away from Stanford. It was a great neighborhood area, and I housed 15 to 20 people in a dormitory and an office and entertainment space there. So I ran an accelerator for 3 years. That's where that came from.
Did you hang on to that property by chance? It sounds like it's worth a lot of money now.
That one I didn't actually buy. That one I had leased from a rabbi that had built it in the 60s, and then his congregation or his call took him out of state. And so I leased the property. I think my lease and utilities was around $7,000 a month, but my cash flow was around 26 or 27,000 a month. So it was more of a rental arbitrage business to start with. And then later, some of that margin I could speculate with, which was I didn't have to charge everybody for staying there, running an accommodation business. I could choose based on the merit of the founder or the person with the idea to accept equity in their company or help them get launched or get them capital and make a deal with them that wasn't charging them monthly, rent or something like that. So I did that, a few speculations, and those worked out pretty well.
Very savvy. I like it. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people just look at it as monetary transaction, dollar for dollar. You give me something, I give you money. It doesn't have to be that way. They can be equity. There can be social credit, just how relationships, networking, things like that.
Yeah.
Those are, compounding over time, long-term investing thinking too. So I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I want to ask that too. Well, first, obligatory. How did you find Richard Hart? Richard Hart products, stuff like that.
2017, in the very beginning of 17, like around February or so, one of my previous tenants of the accelerator I was talking about was coming back to the area and asked me if I was still running it. And I had said no. The owner had decided to move back from Ohio and take the property back. So I had shut it down. And he had said, he's a Ukrainian guy that was visiting the area again. And he had said, well, I'm going to go to this blockchain event in Santa Monica. Do you want to go with me? And up until February of 17, I never had heard blockchain. I never had heard crypto. I didn't know about Bitcoin, even its origin story. I had, this sound money desire. I wanted something that was trustworthy. I knew about, inflation. I knew about debasing of currencies. I had put some of my belief into gold and silver, physical metals kinds of things in 2009 and 10, and hoard that away like it was a pirate treasure in case the world goes to shit. Like I had that mentality. But in February 17 is the first time I had heard of anything crypto. And the way that he framed it was, this is like startups, but for digital assets, like digital things. Like it's venture capital. Like you can be a taxi driver and put $50 towards something, and you're now a VC. That was,
Okay.
and it made sense. So I went to that. I got curious about crypto in 17. I speculated a bit. That turned around $100,000 in 17, became in 2018 around $1 million in a particular crop product that was not related to crypto, to Richard or anything. And then very quickly after that, I needed to be better insulated tax wise. I decided to go to Puerto Rico. And then in early 18, like many people know, the bubble popped as far as the blow off top of crypto, and that speculation crashed, in that previous thing crashed. And I was very burnt and pissed off and angry because I think it was worth around $3 million at the time, whenever it crashed down to in 2019, when Richard was starting to make content about HEX. I had learned about Richard from Rob Beatles, who is the founder of Monarch. And he's also like a Silicon Valley business startup guy, like a tech startup guy.
Oh, okay.
So I was friends with him, and he had said that I should look at Richard Hart's content because I was kind of in that mindset. And I learned about Richard in 2019, in the beginning of 19.
28. Okay, nice. I think we had a pretty similar getting into crypto story as far as the timeline goes too. I got into Bitcoin or so, late 2016, like $700 on Circle. Coinbase was just starting up. I mean, and eventually Circle, they literally sent me an email, hey, we're not doing retail anymore. Please go to Coinbase. I'm like, oh God, I gotta register another thing. I like Circle, even though it's, hard to use sometimes, but it was working. It was a place where I could get it. And then 2017 found Richard. So way before crypto, the 8-hour live streams in the dark with long hair and the original throne, not with the Louis Vuitton airplanes and all that stuff. But it was so good to find him early too. I mean, just a little bit earlier than yourself. But
so you learned about him because of his Bitcoin position, like he was talking positively about Bitcoin specifically. That's when you learned about him.
A different angle. I learned about him at a party. A friend had mentioned, hey, have you ever heard of Richard Hart? You ever watched any of his streams? He was a big Monero guy. And he said, have you ever heard his streams? I said, no, who's Richard Hart? He's like, oh, he keeps you better watch out about Ethereum. He's saying Ethereum's got this crazy attack surface, blah, it just basically shit talking Ethereum. I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Because I have a technical background, working in big tech, things like that. And at the time, even then, I could understand how the technology worked. Ethereum seems okay. I don't know. Let me go see if there's any merit to his argument. And I've watched maybe one or two live streams, and then I started going down to self-development. I was like, man, this guy is really good. Like, he's just super smart and super interesting, and just attractive in all these different verticals. And it was the right timing for me. I just got into crypto. I kind of needed a mentor in that way. I needed someone to kind of like give me the background and history, and mind Bitcoin at 50 block world. I've watched every single Richard live stream ever that I could ever get my hands on, so I know all the stories too. And it was just a good timing for me, and I really got into that Scivive, and the rest is history. When he said he's launching HEX, I was like, or CFD token, and the Bitcoin HEX, and then hex.win, and then hex.com. I was like, man, who's a better person to follow than this guy? He's I think I'm going to put, you got to bet on some horse, you got to put on some horse. So why not this guy?
Right. Yeah.
So very cool. Well, I want to circle back too on the real estate part, and I want to, kind of get into, are there any, parallels? You having experience in both industries, are there parallels between real estate, crypto, kind of the different similarities? Like what has been your experience there?
Yeah. I mean, excuses to hold anything that you're going to value. That's all of this stuff is, in my opinion. Speculation, right? Doesn't matter whether it's crypto, it doesn't matter whether it's gold, doesn't matter really whether it's real estate. Speculation, like buying, as far as like buying a REIT, a REIT or something, or a stock or an index fund or whatever, right? So it's in your mind on why do you choose to risk and what are you risking? And in real estate, similar in my mind to buying Bitcoin miners. If you believe in Bitcoin miners, and you're going to run a mining operation, you're going to have your hardware, you're going to have your overhead, you're going to have your downtime you need to compensate for. You're going to have your if you're savvy, you're going to build it into an entity. You're going to have tax deductible, and you're going to have profit and labor and all these other things, right? So you can do the same thing with real estate in some ways. You can say, look, I'm looking to buy rentable real estate in a market that supports the arbitrage. My cost is $3,000 per month, but I can rent it out consistently for $4,500 a month. Like a place I'm in Miami, that's what it would rent for, right? Is between $4,500 to $5,000 a month is what it would rent for, and the overhead of getting a loan against it, or to buy it, or on paper, control it. The maintenance and upkeep, the maid to turn it over if you're going to short-term rent it, or if you're going to maintenance repair it every year or two when a tenant moves out and a new one moves in, your downtime. I mean, you're having all these things that you're justifying. Why should I put my name to a contract, a mortgage? Why should I risk, a couple $100,000 or, significant money if you're going to buy it outright? Why should I do that? And it is because you're looking for cash flow. So Bitcoin miners mine because they want to earn the inflation of Bitcoin, and then they want to sell that on the market. Gold and silver miners, oil rig, people that set up an oil rig and then they're extracting mineral out of the ground. They're doing the same thing. They're looking at something that's going to consistently be bought by the marketplace that they have. In real estate, it's tenancy. Who's your tenant and what are they going to pay to be there every month? In Bitcoin, it's what's the appetite to buy this thing that I invested into mining. In HEX, it's the same sort of thing. Like your excuse to yourself to sign a contract with yourself is because you're wanting the inflation reward, that you believe it's a sound money principle that will be adopted over time, right? So there's a lot of parallels between real estate, to me, and Bitcoin and HEX. Just HEX outperforms the other two in my mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've thought about it. I've talked to a few different real estate folks who have experience in that, and I think one of the common themes, even remember talking to Matt Garabedian, who I think he's coming out with the new HEX book. It should be out end of this month or so. He was saying that everybody in the real estate wants into crypto, and everybody in crypto wants into real estate because of those, the things you highlighted too. it's like real estate, but the gains can be, there's asymmetric risk, right? Just the gains can be much bigger than what you can get in real estate.
Yeah, I mean, you can even have examples in 2019 and 20 till recently. That government can come along, and if you believe in real estate and you say, hey, I'm always going to have cash flow, there's always going to be demand for this apartment or this house or this neighborhood. In 2019, in a lot of ways, proved that not true. Now we have equity, if you want to call it that, increasing in that real estate prices have inflated over the past 2 years between 15 to 40%. Like, some markets have a 40% higher cost to buy the same house than they would have 2 years ago, right? And that is partly because of the debasing of the currency through inflating the supply of the currency, dollars, right? How many dollars there are now versus 2019. And we had that, also in 2009 and 10 and 11 and 12, all these other things that are inflating the supply of currency. So what I'm getting at is government can actually change whether or not your tenant has to pay to be there anymore. Not just because a rent control gets passed, but because you say, look, nobody's employed, but we can't have social distress or, social unrest by evicting everybody. We can't evict people that are not paying, right? So you may have a moratorium that doesn't necessarily have the same risk in HEX as it would in real estate. That's why there's certain characteristics of the HEX protocol that I think are less risk than real estate going forward in some ways. They have different nuances.
For sure. A question here from Firefight in 82. What advice would I give someone who's in their first bear cycle, been DCA and HEX the last few months, few stakes, hold liquid PulseChain, or continue to create stakes? What do you think, FundingGym?
Well, what's the reason for the stake? The stake to me is helping the psychology of the person that made the stake. That's helping. I'm not saying that, the ROI as far as the number of HEX on HEX return that you might get, if it's a short stake of a month or 6 months or whatever, unless you're putting significant capital in now at today's price of 4 cents or whatever it is, unless you're putting really significant capital, a short stake probably in your mind doesn't have the same reward that you're looking for in crypto, right? Speculatively. So a longer stake would have higher return, and it is more of a promise to yourself that the staking protocol helps me with in something that's so volatile as cryptocurrency. So. When he's saying something about advice about a first bear cycle is when if you bought real estate, the day after you closed, you didn't start seeing what the price was on your real estate you just bought. You had a 4 or 5% entrance cost because of all the closing and overhead of documentation with government and all these things like that to protect your claim for the real estate. But you're not actually usually trying to flip it, the day after closing and have a profit. So bear cycles help. In crypto, things move so fast and are so volatile because you can, have buyer's remorse 10 minutes after you bought something, and you can have FOMO 10 minutes after you sold that same thing. Like your psychology is not tempered by a contract. HEX has a contract that can help temper your psychology, your investment thesis.
I really think internalizing proof of weight has been helpful too. It's just think about it. I don't know who is buying HEX for short-term gains. The whole idea is you don't have to trade. You can lock it up and wait and get paid more. And hey, price tends to go up. So proof of weight, if you can internalize that. I think a lot of people, they say, oh yeah, I get it, I understand. Do you really understand though? Like I think the bear market's a good time to reflect, look at your finances, look at the decisions you made in the past, weigh them. Were they good? Were they bad? What would you do better? This is a time to prepare for the next cycle, because if you look back at the chart, no crystal ball, you look back at the chart, things go up and down, and that's just how the markets work and pretty much everything. So this is a good time to build, as the last bear market chant was, and understand HEX is proof of weight. You mentioned the short stakes too. I wanted to ask, if you look at HEX, I don't know if you follow them, but they post all the significant crazy HEX up and downs, huge amounts of HEX being bought, sold, and stakes ending and things. What are the strategies for doing short stakes? You see people doing like 50 million, 60 million HEX for 15 days, 5 days, even 30 days. What do you think are going through people's mind? What are advantages, disadvantages of that?
I could speculate that they might be waiting for PulseChain, and they want to be relative. They want to have yield 30 days on 50 million staked or whatever. Maybe that's, I don't know what that would be, 15 grand a month or something. I don't know what it would. I have to do the math or show it on the Staker app or whatever. But let's say it's 15 grand a month. So they're earning something. They're not, you can look and see on their wallet if they actually are selling that yield into the marketplace every month, or they're just stacking more HEX in a liquid position when it comes mature. Maybe they're stacking. And there is a narrative that some people believe that they want to push the price of PHEX when a bridge exists. And so maybe that's part of their strategy, is that they're going to bridge over HEX, the Ethereum HEX, to be part of the liquidity stabilization at parity, or that they're going to trade wrapped Ethereum HEX on PulseChain. They're going to trade it to push the price of either PHEX or PulseChain or PulseX, and they're still going to play those games. You have to look at their stake. You have to look at their wallet. Like Silver the Antidote does so well when he does really focus on an address. He says, this is more of a short-term yield guy. This is more of a long-term stake and reward guy. This is more of a trader, a day-to-day trader, just paying attention to chart guy. Like he'll look at the psychology of who's operating that address. So it depends on why they would be long versus short staking.
Yeah, I've seen such a diversity in numbers of these short big stakes. You'll see 5 days and 10 days. Then you'll see 20 days and 30 days and 45 days. And I'm just thinking, is it all just people guessing about when PulseChain launch is going to happen, or is there something else I'm missing?
Yeah, I think, and again, if you see, are they selling it the yield whenever a stake matures? Like you can see if they actually are putting something into Uniswap or anything like that to see if it's actually trading out into a different position or a different coin. Maybe I've seen a lot of volatility, and I don't know whether it's going to go below. Like I put a poll out recently saying which is going to happen first, HEX at 7 cents or Ethereum under 1,000. And I think that Ethereum is going to dip from 1050 or whatever it was to right now, I think it's around 1150. So it's gone up $100 instead of going down. And is that capitulation because other people are coming out of other alts into Ethereum? Is that, or Bitcoin, has this downward pressure risk because of big players in this space, whether it's whether it was Celsius or it's other capital moving around, right? Other types of capital. So I don't know. I think there's peace of mind. I know there's peace of mind in longer staking. And for me, 6 months is the shortest stake that I'm interested in personally. Even at the origin of HEX, my stakes, my shortest stake, I think was like a year. I think that was my shortest stake, even at 2019, something like that.
Yes. So you think it is a given that HEX outperforms Ethereum this year, or is that contingent on PulseChain launch?
I think the community, again, I want to focus really on the community getting outside of the bubble that we already talk inside of. We already talk amongst each other because it's more comfortable, it's less hostile, it's more embracing and positive. It is like a warm hug for one hexagon to talk, positively with another hexagon. But that's also the safe zone. And the better zone, especially when everyone on the planet is concerned about their finances going forward, I think it's still better to embrace entrepreneurism, delivering a better service or product, generating yield through your own knowledge base and your own abilities, and speaking outside of crypto to no corners. Here is a yield device. It has this smart contract concept to it. It's been up since 2019, 100% uptime. You can see all the rumblings in the news. If you actually start to research crypto or you look up crypto on the internet, you're going to see all kinds of things that are marketing versus truth. And when you look at the truth, there's been no software flaws in HEX's performance. There's been no, sale by founders or exits like Terra Luna. You can see on blockchain records that Dao Quan was selling hundreds of millions of dollars worth of token access that he had as an insider. If you were doing that in the stock market or as a founder of a company in Silicon Valley, one, your reputation would be ruined, but two, you'd probably be in jail. I mean, if Martha Stewart can go to jail for inside knowledge, then the unregulated Wild West crypto space may not have that same culpability. But Alex Mashinsky and other people that definitely you can see blockchain record of them exiting their own position weeks or very recently before these collapses. So when you look at HEX and you don't see any of that kind of shenanigan by the origin address, things like that, it helps reinforce to me that it's a value proposition.
OA is our best friend. Yes, we love the OA very much. So BitConnect, now it's BitQuonnect, I believe is the term, is the meme. Whatever happened to BitConnect, folks? I mean, I'm not sure if what's his name, Carlos, I think. I'm not sure what happened, if he was responsible or anything. Huh?
He's the one that said the sound or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up? Yeah.
But he wasn't anything integral. He wasn't. He actually he was a hype man, if that. He was just someone excited about it. And there's all kinds of people that were influencers on YouTube and things like that. That I don't think that they had inside knowledge necessarily. They knew that they were shilling, and they knew that they were promoting a product that might have some kind of affiliate income attached to it, whether it was known or not. But outside of that, I don't think of Carlos from BitConnect as an evil guy. I think that the actual founders that were saying that here's where the profit comes from. It comes from a bot that's automatically trading the rest of the crypto market, and it's so smart that it has a margin, and you're going to benefit from this mysterious computer code that we can't show you any kind of trades or any kind of code about. Is giving you the yield. Just that's suspect at the very best. And yet when Richard or other Hexicans or people that talk about HEX, we are always trying to highlight, here is how the code is, here's where it's located, here's the repository, here's the origin story, here's all of the published information on Telegram since its inception in 2019, here's every conversation. We're so transparent. We're the most faces of crypto in the internet as far as community level people. You don't see this many public people that actually attach their brand or their company or their industry or identity to a product like this. Every other influencer, whether it's BitBoy or Altcoin Daily or who else, Chico Crypto or whatever, they're all going to promote the next 5 things that are paying them. It's not the next best things. It's the next 5 things that are paying them. And we've always been a one product kind of community for years now. And only recently are we maybe a 3 product community, still with the principles of crypto as the base.
Yeah, that's a good segue too, because I wanted to ask you, what are the products? So you mentioned 3 products. What are the products that are missing in the RH ecosystem? We talked about the PulseChain wallet before. We kind of got some hints on that. What gets us to vertical integration? Does the wallet get us fiat on ramps? What do you think how that's going to turn out?
There can be some fiat. There can be some wallet things because, how convenient or how easy it is to have decentralized, authentic control in a safe and secure method of your crypto. I think Richard advocates that. I advocate that, and many of us do, right? So I like, in general, what Steph and Staker app, Staker app version 2 is going to be doing. I like that. I know that they're going to have integrations with PulseChain and PulseX as well. I know that they're going to, the pitches that their company is making right now, you might hear about it inside of HEX or Hexicans or peer-to-peer conversations as far as their community, but the outreach is really the no coin and the financial services industry and things like that. So people that want to someday be able to afford buying their own home, or someday to educate their kids, or someday to go on a vacation. These are common goals everyone probably has. Like, I don't think anybody wishes themselves into the poorhouse. Like, I think everybody hopes that they're going to make something of a yield on their time, their investment, their resource or tool. They want to have something productive out of that. So Staker app and their wallet system, I think, is very useful. I don't know that, I know that Richard has said about a year and a half ago, we had this conversation with a hedge fund manager guy, and he was saying something about he wished that he could short HEX. And Richard had reported, great, build the platform. I would love for somebody to short it. But I think that that's a little bit, that's too enticing. And again, Richard may say it's useful. I don't really know enough to say that it's useful, because I still think it just promotes the trading narrative. It doesn't promote the sound money narrative that I like promoting myself. It may be useful to show, again, look, traders get wrecked because shorts, tend to not work out, versus a long on something in crypto, especially. He gives this narrative of $20,000 Bitcoin being shorted down to zero. You only make 20 grand, but being long, you can make a lot more money. So I see his point about wanting shorting, and I think somebody will build a shorting platform, but I don't really like it because it's still not promoting the process, the save through winter, ants.
Ethos.
Yeah, the ants versus the grasshopper kind of stuff, the Aesop's fable about ants and the grasshopper. Like, I want people to be doing other things with their time than constantly monitoring trades. I don't think that that's very useful.
It's one of the best things about HEX is it allows you to focus on real life. You don't need to do anything. You just need to click a few buttons every once in a while, depending on your level of risk, effort, and capital, and you go live your life. You go be productive. It's I think I've heard some arguments against HEX, like, oh, it does nothing. It does nothing. Exactly. It makes you do very, very little to, in a healthy way, to lock up your funds, get more, so many real world parallels, but it gets this hate because it's not some advanced platform trading thing. And it's like, no, you're missing the point. You're missing the point of the whole thing. So it's a beautiful system in that way. But do you think too, with the wallet, I'm just trying to think of how, I know Rich talked about it before for the Fiat on-ramps. And I hate to keep pushing the button on that, but I really think I can envision a future where it would be really nice if you're able to set up, instead of going on Coinbase, getting ETH, transfer it, set up MetaMask, do the stake, all this stuff. If there was just a buy button in the go.hex.com/stake portal, there's just a buy tab, and you click on the buy tab. It says how much you want to buy. We already connected your bank account or whatever via the PulseChain wallet. However, just speculating here, and you're able to it's automatically highlights your stake for at least a year when you buy it, unless you change the defaults. Those kinds of pumpamentals, those kinds of easy onboarding. Can you see something like that in the future? Like, what would it take? Do we need some Hexkin to buy a bank? Like, who's going to buy the bank? I don't know. What do we need?
Well, I think that some of our partners inside of HEX have talked about buying a bank, you can get a charter, basically. So it's not preposterous to think buying a bank is possible by Hexicans to be part of the onboarding process of fiat converting into crypto. So that's not, I can't speak much more detail than that, but that's actually a conversation that's been around for the past year with Merit, like actually meeting with government officials and with people that can issue bank charters and things like that. or buying existing banks for those purposes of fiat. Now, there's other things that are already available, like TrueUSD is a fiat bridge into ERC20 at the moment. And I've had conversations with them. I don't know how productive they will be soon enough for PulseChain when it first launches, but I've had conversations with them, the same sort of thing, that a PRC20 is acceptable in their mind frame. They're still getting their regulatory, due diligence kinds of things. But TrueUSD is not a centralized exchange proxy like USDC or Gemini Dollar or other, the central bank digital currency kinds of things, right? It's not where you have admin keys. I mean, TrueUSD is a bridge versus an invitation or a tool to go into a trading frenzy on a platform. So they're only converting dollar or euro or Great Britain pound or something else, like 4 different types of currency, fiat currency, into an ERC20. That's what they're doing. And I like sending people there because they're not enticed when by the 200 other things that a centralized exchange like Coinbase or Binance or anything like that might offer. I don't like the distraction.
Yeah, I know if we could just get some clean way, or I know it probably won't start off that way. It'll be, I mean, right now we're playing this hot potato between services to try to get money in and out, but it would be it'd be nice to just have that buy button. I don't know, it feels like a dream right now, but like you said, maybe some people are working on it and getting a more frictionless process in the works.
It's pretty easy with again, TrueUSD. It links to your bank. It links to an Ethereum address. It makes the bridge between your Ethereum address and your bank account, and it's really pretty painless by comparison to. I haven't used Coinbase in years. I haven't used any other centralized exchange in years. I think that there's other tools, like maybe Fiat's going to have something like that, the PHIAT. I think that they might be doing something to do with the bridging. But yeah, the simplicity. So part of the opportunity goes away with all of the conveniences, right? Like some of these things, if you were very early in Bitcoin, you didn't have a centralized exchange. You had peer-to-peer. If you were a little bit later in Bitcoin, then you had Mt. Gox, and you had the centralizing force of a trading platform. And then if you were later, then you had, you could buy it with MasterCard or PayPal or whatever all these other tools are for Bitcoin. You're going to have the same potentially have the same thing with PulseChain. Early on, you might have the best price for your involvement, and then later on, as more people participate, because those conveniences are already there and established, then the price would move, and you'll have more yield because you were earlier before it was easy, right?
Yeah. That's the way it usually works, for sure. Yeah, the easier it is, the less opportunity. I'm hoping, I don't know.
And Richard, again, like that commentary, people have said these things, and some of it, I don't want it to sound like it's just smoke. He has done these paperworks, but it is a long, tedious process. It's a long process to basically be permission to issue or deal with all of the bookkeeping required of being a bank as well. It's a lot of bookkeeping.
From what I know or listened to him on stream, it seemed like, as he talked about for a few different streams, about potentially in Europe having a fiat on ramp through an exchange, some kind of platform like that. Is that what you remember is the latest on it?
Well, I think that this European, if you're dealing with the euro, then Steph might already have those permissions with Staker app. You have to pay attention more to his content. But I think that his Staker app permissions, he's able to deal with direct onboard in euro as far as the European Union. And then as far as dollar processes, if there's a bridge through Ethereum to buy crypto, yes, it's another step, but you know, MetaMask has a tool you can connect, I think, to buy Ethereum based tokens. I think that there's other tools that, like I was doing back before Big Payday, at Big Payday, even on the day of Big Payday, I remember doing a stream and taking a break during the 24-hour stream of Big Payday to take $5 grand. I think I had taken $5 grand to what was the name of it? It wasn't Bitcoin 18. It was
talking about centralized exchange.
No, it was Liberty X. So if you go to Liberty, LIBERTYX.com, it is a network across the United States of 20,000 CVS and Walgreens and so forth. You can buy $500 per day of Bitcoin with cash. And it would be $4 cost. So your transaction cost wasn't a percentage of the Bitcoin you're buying. And so I did that daily for like a week to do the 500 limit. But then on that particular day of Big Payday, I think I paid like 7% to a local, I don't know, I think it was a smoke shop or something like that had the same tools, but they charge a commission. So Liberty X is a good tool to buy Bitcoin with cash, and then it lands in your wallet, and then you convert it through RHMBTC, I think.
Yep.
Or RHM Bridge or RHMBTC Bridge or whatever the thing was called, into wrapped Bitcoin. And then from wrapped Bitcoin, converted into, through the DEX of Uniswap, converted into HEX. So I remember that process, and that yield on that $5 grand, even at today's price, is you know, hundreds of thousands, whatever that price was. I have to look at the number.
Yeah, that was especially after the Big Payday dip. You were getting some more multiples if it happened after that time as well. Wow.
Yeah, and again, you have to. I'm not saying that people, again, none of this is financial advice, all those caveats about advice and things like that. But you know, you have to look at what is the worth of your time. If you're going to spend 40 years of your life earning a daily wage, you know basically what life you're going to have. You know what kind of house you're going to live in or apartment. You know what kind of car you're going to drive. You know, if you're going to have a step up in your buying power, it may be because you increase your skill set. You know, you go from being a medical assistant to being a doctor, let's say. So you know you're going to multiple your income because you stacked skills. But still, at the end of 40 years, what can you actually do? Can you be a philanthropist? Probably not. You're probably going to just take care of your lifestyle, maybe take care of your parents and your kids, but you're really not going to have that much reach. If you really want to make impact in the world, you have to do a couple of things. You have to, like Richard comments about, you have to either own something that pays you regardless of your time, right? A lot of people tried that through real estate. They tried that through this passive income kinds of systems like real estate related, but that's not even completely passive. It's somewhat, but not completely. And then, or you have to launch a business that basically provides a service or good that doesn't require your attention constantly, right? You have to do those things. Or you can, you know, be part of a wave, which is this cryptocurrency adoption curve that the world is going through. And if you get crypto right, especially a yield generating crypto like HEX, you really can make big impacts in the world, not just to your own life and lifestyle or your family or friends, you know, the things you're able to deploy capital or buy, or I guess, but you can actually make impact. You can have weight in the government that you live in, or the municipality, or things like that. You know, charitable. You can be philanthropic with your time and resources.
Yeah, I mean, I will forget the the quote. What is it? You give society what they want, and that you'll get rewarded. Like Naval Ravikant says that a lot. Another person I follow, and for wealth, wisdom, happiness stuff that we'll get into in a minute for in the book section.
Yeah.
But real quick, say hi to chat. Y'all are killing it. killing it as usual. Love the bank comments. I got a question from, I'm just going to call you Luca. How to get more PLSX with HEX, ratio trade, or wait for PLS price to dip, then swap HEX for PLSX. If you could parse that, you want to put down your thoughts?
How to get more PLSX with HEX to ratio trade or wait for PLS price to dip, then swap HEX for PLSX. Okay, so if he already has HEX, then he's going to have the fork as well. And initially, it seems, I don't know if this is going to play out this way, but it seems as far as people that are broadcasting or telegraphing what they're planning to do, that there's going to be some interest in PulseChain as a priority, as PLS versus PLSX. And probably if people are willing to trade away their PLSX for PLS, then you having HEX in the liquidity pool might be a path in the of getting more PLSX, right? So I don't know. I'm fine with my own ratios. I'm not really trying to stack anything other than to promote, the product of HEX, which is always the cornerstone of my investment thesis in crypto. How to get more PLSX while having HEX. I don't know. I don't want to give away the goose because I'm chasing the golden egg. Like, I want to keep the goose.
Yeah. Do you think in general, when you get when you get free tokens, a lot of times they get dumped. Do you think PHEX will be different? Do you think it's just going to dive bomb, or do you think it'll be?
I think there'll be price ones. I think that there'll be ratios, and I think that some people will believe that 1-for-1 is a fair trade, and then they'll see the numbers change, and then they won't have actually formed their own investment thesis. They would just kind of play the market by watching the market. And, they're going to be cattle. There's going to be people that follow and think that they have a trend line, see that they see a ratio changing, and they're going to try to, front run or participate in that Pamplona, like when we run from the bulls or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's why I advise in general that people should play around inside of the test net. Put your own thesis to work. Say, hey, I want to accumulate more PLSX. Why? That's buy and burn. Why does buy and burn matter? Oh, it's a percentage of all the trades on the platform, buying up the token and then burning it so that you're shrinking the supply even faster than it's already deflating supply. So put it to the test. You've had months. You've had maybe a year. I don't know how long the test nets have been around, but you've had a long time to play around with the test nets.
Hopefully it's not been a year. I think you're gonna get people riled up. You start saying test net's been around for a year.
How long has it been around? It seems like time has stopped.
It's been around for like 2 weeks. Okay, just 2 weeks.
It's only been here 2 weeks. All right.
Yes.
But yeah,
that's great advice.
Write it down on paper, make it sound good to yourself, and then A/B test it. Have two separate piles of money. This one I'm going to play this way, and this one I'm going to play that way, right? And see what the test net shows you. It's going to be far less number of participants, but I tend to think that the trend of 10% of the population playing around on testnet is probably going to do similar things that 100% of the participants when it goes live. However many people participate later, I tend to think that it'll do something like that. Now, it's not going to say you're going to earn this incentive token, and this incentive token is going to be this amount that's going to pay, all of your bills through life, or those numbers as far as the dollar assignment. I don't think that that's anywhere close to reasonable. But the ratios, you could certainly say, here's my pile of token A, and here's how I'm trying to accumulate token B. Put those things to the test. See if you can work out your ratio trades. You've got charts, you've got volume, you've got price points or ratios to whether it's going to be liquidity farming or different reward mechanisms inside there. Go play with it. Be familiar with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, great one. I wanted to take a break from crypto markets for a second, get into a couple good books. This is something I've skipped it the last couple streams, and I shouldn't have, because it's something near and dear to my heart. And I've been on a wealth, wisdom, happiness journey for the last 2 or 3 years, basically consuming all kinds of content I can get my hands on. I did a lot of that through listening to hundreds of audiobooks, summaries, reading real books, all that stuff too. You named a couple that we discussed before. I think I'll save mine for afterwards. But if you want to talk a little bit about, I see one from Zig Ziglar, and you want to talk about that one, and also Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie and those types of books too, ones that I'm definitely familiar with.
Yeah, I think everybody that's been reasonably successful in life, if you say what's their books that they've read that have had the biggest impact on them, they're going to say the same short list. Maybe they'll have something that's more recently published, 7 effective habits of successful people, or whatever this other one is. I think it's a Stephen Covey book. But the core to me is Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It sounds like it might be, snake oil salesman as far as the cover name. I don't like the name influence people. Maybe the connotation sounds bad. But it's extremely, extremely useful, and it's very helpful. It's amazing. It's helpful because, a lot of these same principles that Dale's book talks about, or Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich, those principles, the way that I understood them in the early multimedia world was Zig Ziglar's content. When I was 20 years old, that's who I listened to. I listened to him on the radio, or I listened to him on television programs every so often. I had family members that were in sales. Maybe it's real estate sales, and they would pick up Zig Ziglar content and play it on it. Again, I'm old enough to where they had albums, and it was Zig Ziglar records, teaching how to relay a story. And what really, some of the phrases that he uses are very useful. And it's like, one of the most popular ones is that you can get anything you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want. And I think that that's the narrative. Richard has this brash, breaking through the noise, outrage marketing campaign going on right now. But he is a kind-hearted person. He's very much a meritocracy kind of person. Now, outside of that, the other entrepreneurs that lead inside of HEX, we need to, in my opinion, be always truthfully giving a better deal than we have. And what I mean by that is, if you learn as an athlete to compete with someone else, and you see a vulnerability in that competitor, you're not going to reveal it. You're not going to say, here's your weak point, and here's how you could prevent me or block me, or limit my ability to score on you, right? Basketball or football or wrestling or something like that. You're not going to really point out to your opponent the weak blind
how to beat you
I have, right? Now, early hexagons, people that started in 2019, 20, 21, all of the ones that I associate with and that you guys have been watching content about, we are telling you our best opinion about what we would have done differently and what we would have done, why we think about it differently now versus in 2019. In 2019, we did not have charts. In 2019, we had the concept of staking, but we didn't really know that HEX was going to be around a year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. And to stake something 15 years out as a novel concept inside of something that has so many projects go to zero because of bad code or bad design or bad founder, to put a stake out there was a brave position in 2019. And so I remember a lot of people, whether they short staked or they said, hey, I want to have cash coming out on a daily basis because, I need to make sure that I get my $40 every day, so that I'm going to be rich because I get $40 out of crypto every day. There's people that have stakes that go 15 years with almost daily stakes coming out. Like there are people hexagons that have that. And when you look at the transaction cost that Ethereum ramped up as far as price, you see that that's not sustainable as far as the transaction cost. So sadly, a lot of HEX stakes are just going to melt away. And my point is, you know, the guys that I know that have those kinds of stakes, they repositioned themselves, they started new stakes, and they didn't keep it private. And they told other people, here's how I messed up. Here's how I would have done it again. And here's the new stuff that I've learned, that I'm right shoulder by shoulder with you coming into this ecosystem, right? There's benefit in us, you know, not being wildly, crazily separate from the new guy that just learns about it tomorrow. Like, I would rather spend my time educating someone that comes in and has a better yield than I ever have, you know? I think even at this price point, like some people can be like, oh man, I should have sold at 50 cents. I would have maxed out. You know, now I want to be quiet about it because I don't want this other guy to, you know, push the price against me, because I'm trying to, you know, save up on a monthly basis and buy more HEX before they can get it so that I can sell it at a profit. Like, you know, we're telling people things that in other systems would be against our best interest, in my opinion. Like I tell people now, especially, shorter than 6 months, don't do it. Save up a bigger pile of money and do 6 month long, because do you really need that capital as a speculation coming out sooner than that? Do you really? You know, because if you manage your finances, in my opinion, if you manage your finances reasonably, and you say, okay, my rent is $2,000 per month, so every 6 months I need 12 grand, right? Every 1 year I need 24 grand, or whatever it might be. My car payment is this. My health insurance is this. Here's how much that I eat. If people actually sit down and do a budget of what they actually need, they can build a plan around that. I live off of credit. I don't even spend like HEX or crypto value, because I know how, in my opinion, how undervalued it is at the moment. And I want that yield to continue to compound. And I want those big numbers, right? But I have access to capital, and have access to real estate to support me. And I have access to skill set that I can sell into a marketplace. I have access to options. And everyone in HEX should continue building their skill set, not pull the parachute ripcord as soon as they possibly think that they might, at a bare minimum, be able to retire. Like, I think that you should continue to accrue skills, build community, you know, have a plan, right? I love that shirt. It's a great shirt. Yeah, I love it. It's awesome.
You know how I feel about the product. Same way.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, so I was talking to Gunther the other day, and he had an interesting one just on your point about, you prefer no less than 6 month stakes. He was talking about he has ladder stakes for 250,000 HEX every quarter coming out, and basically that's how he retired. But of course, he accumulated a lot of that HEX beforehand and things like that. Yeah. Is that a way you can live on HEX? You know, of course, you're selling it and you're paying for expenses and stuff, but the price goes up and down, but still 250,000 HEX, even at 3 or 4 cents, that's still enough to live in a lot of cities, right?
Yeah, and so I think people should continue in Western United States or Western world. Build your personal credit. Have your personal credit. Don't use it for consumerism. Build an 800 score. Once you have an 800 score set up, you can do it for free, a sole proprietorship. That's an entity. The entity will reference, when you get funding for that entity, or an LLC or a C corporation, but a sole prop is the cheapest. Then the creditors, the underwriters, will give you capital. They will give you capital to do something productive, right? Say, okay, I'm going to have a service. I'm going to have a good. I'm going to set up Airbnbs. I'm going to buy a supercar or rent a supercar that I can put on Uber, or not on Uber, on Turo, right? There's different platforms that you can actually generate income from, building a personal credit that leads to business credit, and deliver a service or good to a population that is asking for it and will pay you for it, right? Richard even makes this comment. He talks about like if you know enough about something, like his example is top hat. He likes a top hat that has a certain curve and a certain weight, a certain type of material. And, once you know what you like and why you like it, then you're a reasonable representative of that product, right? You're a reasonable representative. And, there's never been an easier time than to be successful through your cell phone, ever. There's never been as easy of a time as you have. Build a consultant business about something that has nothing to do with crypto. Engage an audience that has nothing to do with crypto. I talk about this with Gymrat Crypto and any of the guys that are in any kind of talent set that they are building themselves or knowledge base that they already have. Capitalize on it, because you're reaching audience that has nothing to do with HEX, nothing to do with crypto, and they will eventually be curious enough to participate in your own investment pool as well, right? So, yeah.
Definitely. No, great.
You should, I mean, 1 million every quarter, that's fine. That's great. Good. I'm happy that he's going to get yield out of his investment. But also, he has a skill set. Gunther has a skill set that has, charts and narratives and consultancy or whatever he can do. And it doesn't even have to be promoting HEX or crypto. It could be any other kind of charting he can look at and show people. And he can build all kinds of income around that has nothing to do with selling down the price if he chooses to. Everybody wants to retire, and crypto can retire you, and it should retire you. It's the whole point of investing in it in the first place. I'm just saying that, it doesn't have to be the first thing that you sell as the performing asset to support yourself.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I will wrap up the book section with my book.
Nice.
This is probably one of the best books I've ever read in my life. It's tying with Scivive for two of my favorite, and it's got, if you're on that health, wealth, happiness journey, Naval Ravikant, read and consume every single thing you can find of him, just the way you would do Richard and otherwise. Silicon Valley, entrepreneur forever, angel list. This book is basically a collection of his tweets that have been synthesized into book content. Fantastic short read, audiobook, just a few hours long, print book, just a few hundred pages. Fantastic read. I won't spoil it, but I love this book. I give it and I recommend it to every single person I can, no matter your situation.
I love it.
Awesome. So I want to get into Richard a little bit too. Why does he keep winning? like what I always think too, what is the bull and the bear case for Richard Heart himself? Like what is going to come? What would make him come to demise of him and his products and all these things in the, for the mission he's on, for glory, for, longevity and all this stuff? And what would make his stock, be at his all-time low right now and only go higher in the future? What do you think of that?
Are you talking about his products or his personal value in society?
His brand, I think, is just himself, because since he represents and is a big part, even though he likes to say, I do nothing, he is a big part of these products. So for better, usually for better, it seems for better for right now. People say outrage marketing. I don't get it until it works. And I'm like, oh, I get it. But, what are your thoughts on his brand? And, can't he only be more popular, more influential? Can he has he reached his peak, or do you think there's a lot more?
I think that in 2008 or 9, whenever Bitcoin started, I think Richard first participated in 2011. I think around then, when it was 50 cent Bitcoin or something like that, and he talks about going from $2 to making the $30 top and all these other things he talks about. So I think his participation was around 2011. People, I tend to give benefit of the doubt when it comes to what attracts someone to a particular product to speculate on. Here is where the market is going to go. Here is where I have the quick buck, the fast money, the hollow sale, and those kinds of narratives. And those people don't, in my experience, don't stick around. They don't stick around for 10, 12 years inside of a marketplace, putting themselves out there. Richard has the genius to be absolutely anonymous, unknown. No one knows about him whatsoever, and still be ridiculously wealthy. His trading skills, he can move markets and things like that. He can pay attention. He's a savant, in my opinion, when it comes to pattern recognition, game theories, that kind of stuff that has served him well about when to get out of sale of a business. He's exited multiple businesses that he's developed over time. And, I think there's even been evidence that he's talked about of a hollow and fruitless, several years of playing video games, living in hotel rooms. It's not really an extrovert. It doesn't seem to be. He does tend to stay in his home, more than as far as all the content we've seen of him.
His castle, you mean?
Yeah. So I mean, like, and he talks about having like this PTSD kind of narrative in his head about risk and security vectors and all these other types of things, right? So I think that he could have lived an anonymous life, but he also knows that there's only a few people that in his mind, that he respects, that he thinks actually has made big impact on civilization or societies. If you look through history, it might be like a Nikola Tesla. It might be in some ways the leadership, or you love him or hate him, of Elon Musk, or Newton, or someone that Edison, someone recognized by history. And he knows that there's not that many of them. There really are not. There's a few dozen at best. Einstein or something like that, right? And everybody else falls into some level of obscurity. Satoshi has been taking that position of the inventor and innovator of cryptocurrency for decades, and he hasn't really been here for over a decade. No one's known him for a long time. Any action or participation or any defense of the purpose of crypto or the narrative of cypherpunk and things like that. So I think Richard wants that respect, and I think he's come to the public realm to showcase his skill set of creating a community, of espousing the values of cryptocurrency and entrepreneurism and things like that, and the narrative of don't wreck your life trading it away, whether it's time away or anxiety or relationships or whatever, in this gambling thing, a speculation, even though we are speculating to some degree that HEX will have value in the future. His best product development has been this delayed gratification, time value of money thing, So I think he wants everyone knows that he wants the celebrity. He wants it for ego. He wants to be a mark in time and history, and he wants to prove haters wrong. He wants to prove them wrong, right? I think that's a noble quest.
Do you think he will get the glory that he's looking for? In his mind, you think he will hit all the targets? He will be the best person in crypto. He will be remembered for saving lives through longevity, like all these things that he talks about. Do you think he'll get what he's looking for?
I think I would be a controversial figure for many years to come. I don't see malicious malintent. In the times that I've spent with him, I text with him fairly regularly and things like that also. And he's never let me have doubt. I've been around other business people and investment thesis kinds of narratives. And I've found, those many times the people, they have an image that they put forth, and then you get to know them, you become familiar with them, and you're like, that's not how it really is.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's your parent or your family member or your priest or preacher or, politician or school teacher, the closer that you get to your heroes, the more you can see their flaws, right? You can this is where you say one thing, but you do a different thing. Right. Yeah. I've never seen that in Richard. It's been 3 years now. And I'm not saying that that's a huge amount of time or exposure, but I've never seen something that has been misaligned with his narrative and his public, reason for creating product or playing the clown or whatever it is for us. I think his advocacy has value, and I think his intention is true.
Same here. Couldn't have said better myself. Yeah, I mean, from the 5 years I've been watching him, I'm just like, everything he does is it's not that he doesn't make mistakes. It's not that, you know, he doesn't do things that in hindsight he maybe wish he would have done differently or otherwise, but everything is purposeful. He has you know, a reasoning behind it. He's doing it, you know. I wrote a blog about this on the website for glory. In my opinion, he wants to be the best in every vertical that he chooses. And I've said it before, I think crypto, I know it's hard to see it now, but I think crypto will be a footnote in his Wikipedia article. You know, whenever he gets on Wikipedia, get kept, huh? You know, down the road, 10, 20 years, I think, you know, like I said, longevity, he's always talked about pivoting in that at some point. I think it's a means to an end for him, but still, while he's doing it, he's putting his heart, soul, energy, time, everything he can into getting it done as fast and as well and as compounding and as he can. Do you think that you know, I guess if you look at it that way, or, you know, some of the things you talked about too with him, you know, it's never seeing any reason to doubt him and stuff. People who follow him, people invest in HEX, people in products, and you know, just his whole way of doing things. Do you think that it's kind of like a trickle down glory type of thing? Like, do you think it's he is the ocean that rises the boats type of deal? You know, it's if he just stopped doing crypto and he went off to do something else, and it's just something that no one would expect, would HEX still be successful, for example? Like, do you think he's needed in order to get these things done?
I sure would like him to be involved for a bit longer. I think that there is a robust community, of course. I think that there is skill to step up if he were not involved for any reason. Like there's, you know, call to action that would happen. You know, people, whether it's because they're trying to protect their own investment that they've had over time, which is their brand, their time that they've invested, their resources that they've invested into the HEX product and narrative. And I think that we would have someone or some pool of people that would step up to that role. But I sure would like him to continue being Richard. I like the gladiator inside of the Coliseum, and I'm promoting that the crowd, the audience, can be louder, and they should be louder, and they should have different points of view, and they should be relatable to different people that Richard is not. And they should, you know, talk about the product more than the outrage or the genius or the resources that one person inside of HEX has, right? So I like Richard.
Absolutely.
I think he's a great guy in a lot of ways. I think he's obviously has a lot of resources. I think he can move markets outside of HEX. I think he, you know, I believe, you know, without any proof, that he can make tops and bottoms. I think he has a lot of resources to deploy and do those things. But that's not going to give him the glory of being a better trader and showcasing his resource, you know, his fashion sense, whatever, isn't filling him. What's filling him is creating a product and having the product adopted and you know, that recognition that goes along with it, right? So yeah. I want him to participate. I do have call to action kinds of things about how Hexicans can be more effective, how we can be a voice that is different in frame and vocabulary and tone than the gladiator. You know, we are the audience, but we are also, you know, Romans. So
he is Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, and he owns the stadium, if you will. Yeah. Got a question from Bob Leguy. Do you think MCA clients will be able to leverage the crypto corporate structures in a similar way? And I'm sorry, I don't have context. I think it was a few minutes ago when we were talking.
Yes, is the Mountain Crypto Advisor clients. I'm part of MCA, and there's a pool of 5 of us, I think, maybe more. The Hexologist, Kinetics, RG3, myself, Whales Only. And then there's other leader managing partners and so forth. But MCA, the purpose of MCA is to help. The reason it's formed is because we were already having our own expenses individually to set up charitable remainder trusts and set up, the liability protections and the tax efficient processes that anybody with resources, any successful business or speculation or investment should look at and they should set up. So we already were doing that. And we chose to form an entity that could do that for others, whether it's HEX only, which other crypto people that are outside of HEX's community, or if it's real estate people, especially, or other business people that want to participate in crypto, but they have different types of resources or different funding sources. We want to be able to tax efficiently and liability minimizing ability to go between those pools, go between the crypto world and the quote unquote real world, the tangible world, the contract and law world. So that's what MCA is for. And so when you say leverage the corporate structures in similar way, yes, that's the whole point. The point is that you would have a financial advisor that is dedicated and tailor suited to your particular portfolio or your appetites. Say, hey, I like real estate, or I like insurance, endless banking, or I like gold and silver, and I like ETFs or whatever, a stock or whatever. We want to be able to help people to in a tax efficient and legal way extract value out of crypto or extract value out of other asset classes into crypto and have those bridge each other. That's our point. Yeah.
It made me think of something too. As far as I know, there's been some rumblings around about DAOs and corporate structures and things like that. Do you think they think regulation is coming for DAOs, or and if not, how do you think they'll escape it?
Yeah, I think regulation is going to try to come toward everything. If you have, it's funny. I was just saying something earlier today about this. Is the cypherpunk. There are censorship resistant smart contracts. We don't need lawyers anymore. Politicians can go fuck themselves. That narrative of like hateful rebellion, that was maybe the primer, and that first attracted the gold silver bugs that said, when the zombie apocalypse comes, I'll be able to buy a city block of real estate for, one coin, because everybody's going to go to the gold standard again. I don't really think that that's true. Me personally, I don't think we're going to go to a crypto only kind of world. I don't really see that. I see that there's going to be, just like we've had centralizing forces as long as there have been humans, and yet we don't all wear the same thing or speak the same language or have the same cultural uniformity. We don't. We choose tribalism. And so there is some level of tribalism that will always be there. And I think that that's the narrative I'm operating on. So we wanted people to buy us out when Bitcoin was $100. And they said, banks are going to buy us out. Corporate America is going to buy us out. Somebody that wants our bag more than I do is going to buy us out. And they said the same thing at 1,000, and the same thing at 10,000, and the same thing at the crash of 67 or 69,000. Now corporate America is here, and what have they done? They've leveraged the fuck out of it.
Yeah, for sure. I just think I was listening to a podcast today, and it's the guy who was talking about Monero, and I did a talk at Monero conference, and it was interesting. It's very refreshing actually to listen to him talk about. It's a very unique perspective, and but what I got out of it was interesting about the whole part of, okay, for example, capitalists and market participants like markets, right? Mm-hmm. That's price performance, things like that. That's what we're optimizing for. Mm-hmm. But peer-to-peer digital cash, when Satoshi wrote the white paper, mm-hmm. didn't mention anything about $1 trillion market cap, didn't have a plan to hit different milestones and get it widely, get it adopted in a way for institutions and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. It was be able to, without a central authority, give people, exchange this value back and forth between people. And I think it's something that's, of course, people in it for technology, they get made fun of a lot of times, especially for people who are getting mad gains. But I can really see there's some truth into that too, of, once you go so deep into your optimization for being a participant in the market, there is this aspect of when Bitcoin was invented. Use an example as because it was the first one and all these things that gained popularity. Peer-to-peer digital cash, the libertarian dream, and that world that you talked about that may or may not happen. It doesn't seem that likely. I agree with that. But I just think it's refreshing to think about the origins there, and that market is almost in the podcast. He kind of said this, and that's what struck me to even think more about it. He was like, obviously a person that's in it for technology, but he said, the fact that it has a price is kind of an accident. It's kind of a side effect. It wasn't invented for the price. It was invented to exchange money back and forth without a bank and all this AML, KYC, all this stuff like that. So just taking that perspective of it, of course, mad gains. We all want to be financially free, retirement, all that stuff. But I think it is nice to zoom out a little bit, look at the origins and see where this stuff came from. And, and don't forget that side of it too.
Yep.
I got one more before I know it's the sun's starting to go down there. A red sky at night, sailor's delight, right? So it sounds like another beautiful day in Miami tomorrow. Certainly hope so. But I wanted to ask, is there any reason to believe that PulseChain won't launch this year?
I personally am guessing no. I personally am guessing that Richard wants the glory of 11,500 Bitcoin. He wants the narrative to, I called the top, I called the bottom. Ethereum is 27 days after Bitcoin.
Don't talk about mid-May.
Hart's law is pairing, market, Sailor got wrecked. He wants that invitation to CNBC. he wants on Bloomberg himself. And I think that a lot of the outrage, like I think today even, someone in Twitter had reposted one of the television talking heads of Bloomberg, I think it's Bloomberg, guy that has 800,000 followers. And I think that their comment and tweet was, you should get Richard Heart when to be on interview. And the reply was, only if he brings his watches. So you have, celebrity, and they're talking, finance all the time. And they do see this Richard Heart guy, right? I know that tonight, if it's not happening right now, it might be right now. George Gammon, Robert Kiyosaki, Ken McElroy, right now, if they're not right now, it's in a few hours, are at Fit and Fresh here in Miami, and they're doing a podcast recording. Dollar cost average has been there several times. Charlie's been there. HEX has been talked about on the program. Robert Kiyosaki on Fit and Fresh in the past, like 6 or 8 months ago, had asked if HEX was better than Bitcoin. Right? Tomorrow, all day, I'm with George and Kiyosaki and Ken and all the other people on the panel of Rebel Capitalist Live, which is going on this weekend. That's why I'm here in Miami. So, Richard wants those invitations, but he wants to deserve them. He doesn't want to beg for them. He wants to deserve them. People need to ask him, right? And he wants that ego stroke. So I don't think that, me personally, I'm not betting that PulseChain launches before the trough of a bear. I think that the bear needs to get 12 grand, 13 grand before PulseChain launches, my opinion. I'm not, my investment thesis is not to salivate over charts, and it's not to salivate other than, accumulation, in preparation for PulseChain when the bear is here, fully here, when it's all here.
full year. So do you anticipate this year that we will hit a bottom then?
There's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of stuff in the macro. There's a lot of content that, this event of Terra Luna is only a month old, and that had ripple effects that has de-pegged a lot of other stables. And Celsius has had a lock for 9 days or 10 days. And BitBoy is, asking people that have $1 million or more, in Celsius to join a class action. So, whether you say it has impact or it doesn't, those things still only are a few days old. They haven't played out very far. So I think that me personally is that crypto is still going to have some stumbling blocks, and those stumbling blocks are going to be enough of a fear narrative that it's not counter to inflation. It's not a risk off kind of store of value, in my opinion, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, anybody outside of HEX. I stack HEX, but I don't think of it as a store of value until it has more mass myself. I think that Richard wants that call to glory. And I also think that the highest of stakes movie isn't coming until January. So my thought is sit and build skill set, sit and see if we can inspire new hexagons or old hexagons or whatever to talk outside of our own bubble. Like, I'm going to be starting my content in a few weeks when I come back to the States. Is going to be all about business credit, all about not investment thesis, but like, how can you launch a brand? How can you deliver a service or good to, a population that is asking for it, that has nothing to do with crypto. And I think that same outreach needs to happen, older in HEX until PulseChain does launch.
Definitely. Wouldn't it be nice?
Look at you. You launched, and look at all your hosting skills that you're accruing, all these interpersonal skills, all these, there needs to be more hexagons that are like you, like Crypto Coffee and Crypto Sparbach and, all the, Crypto Cabana, people that obviously talk the product. I just want us to talk outside of our own audience.
Definitely good point. I think as I grow the channel too, I'm going to have more folks from different industries, from different coins and otherwise, to try to get some cross collaboration, because there's so many opportunities. And I love my hexagons, I love my PulseChains, I love everyone in the Richard Heart ecosystem. I also think it's super beneficial to get some crosstalk going on too. Wouldn't it be nice if the documentary came out this year sometime? Everyone's seen it. There was some kind of ploy for PulseChain near the end. There was some mention there. Bear market kind of bottom. People were feeling max pain. They're feeling kind of like, okay, that maybe the macro turns around a little bit, or at least gives us a sigh of relief, and then PulseChain launch. Wouldn't that be spectacular? Is that the ideal setup, or do you see some other better case?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of eyes on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the story that's, if it leads, it leads in news. And right now the bleeding thing is Ethereum and Bitcoin. Nobody's heard of HEX. Nobody on Bloomberg or MSNBC or something like that is talking about HEX. They're talking about Bitcoin. They're talking about Ethereum. They're talking about, bleed it leads kind of clicks. And, when that trough of slaughter is quelled a little bit, that's when you can build again. And that's what Richard talks about. These things have blow off tops. This didn't happen as a dramatic blow off top like 2017 into 18. But it had a double top, or what you want to call it. And then it had a slow leak, for a long time. These leveraged positions have to unravel. Most investors, many like long-term investors that make a lifestyle out of investing, they need companies to go to zero. That helps set bottoms. They need a Celsius to go to zero. They needed more than just a Terra Luna that a lot of people outside of crypto hadn't heard of, but they have heard of Celsius because they've been engaging a lot of VC money and a lot of hedge fund money for a long time.
Do you expect more companies to bleed this summer? Do you expect more companies to bleed this summer? Is that what we need them for the bottom?
Capital, Three Arrows Capital right now is like relatively insolvent from what I had heard or seen, the public stuff that's out there. Maybe some of it's fear narrative or whatever, but they're hiring, some of the best lawyers to go through bankruptcy proceedings. These things need to wash out of the marketplace.
That's what it usually takes. There's definitely blood on the when they say blood on the streets. That tends to include some companies, some agencies, some players with capital and things like that. So it's going to be interesting this summer, this fall, the macro, the crypto market, PulseChain launch, all the things like that. Appreciate the compliments earlier. I appreciate you coming on the show. I mean, it's been everything I thought it would be as far as getting to pick your brain on some things, and that's just definitely made my day. A lot of people tuned in. Again, if you haven't subbed already, please hit the sub button, like button, follow FundingGym on Twitter. It's at FundingGym. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm FundingGym across all platforms. So if you look
at that vertical integration, love it.
Yeah, and people should think about that stuff. Like I developed, once I get back to Puerto Rico, I'll be able to help others do this. But I developed some software. Me and HEX Monkey worked on it a bit, and basically you can put in a username and then very quickly see 400 different platforms to see if your username is already taken. Ooh. So if you're going to say, hey, I should get into Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or a YouTube channel, think about your brand before you actually grab any social media platform at all. And then once you have your brand, if you have 3 or 4 or 5 of them, you can send it to me if you choose to, and I'll run the search, and then I'll tell you, hey, this is already taken on Facebook. Facebook.com/whatever your brand is already taken by somebody. I point this out because there are people like let's see, as an example, Rihanna. She has 80 million followers on Instagram, but her Instagram.com isn't Rihanna. It's like Bad Girl Riri or something. And people should think about their brand first, capture all of the real estate related to that brand, whether you're going to use it or not. Like this is going to sound scandalous, but I don't know a company is going to pivot or not. So I might as well capture it. So I have FundingGym on Pinterest, very innocent. I also have FundingGym on OnlyFans. There's no content, but I think you should grab all of your identities across all platforms before you launch anything. So anybody that's thinking about, hey, maybe I'm going to start a channel or whatever, I'll run it for free if you want me to, and I'll just do the search, or sit there and do it yourself and make sure that your platforms, all of them, even the ones that you are not going to build any content on, get the patreon.com/whatever your brand is. Make sure that it's available. Make sure it's not weird spelling, because I can't tell you how many times people on Instagram message me and say, hey, there's somebody that has your name or a derivative of it messaging me and impostoring you. Maybe one day you're going to be famous enough or brand enough, identifiable. So why not secure it now? Like, this is the stuff you should be doing during the bear. If you're in a bear market and you're twiddling your thumbs waiting on PulseChain, how about get about 30 or 40 URLs that are based on different platforms of your identity and your brand, whether you're going to do anything with crypto or HEX or not. Work on that skill set, because 2023, 24, 25, people are going to be scurrying for income sources, in my opinion. They're going to be trying to offset the cost of the gasoline at the pump and the cost of rent and food. And why not beat them to the punch by securing your own digital real estate imprint? Do that now. I mean, fill your time.
Yes, it is. It is learning, building, and searching out your usernames across platforms. By the way, FundingGym is just a common misspelling. That is not his Twitter. Do not follow whoever's there if you want the real FundingGym. I did have a suggestion, just real quick on my engineering, because I have a coding background and stuff too. On the search, do you also look for prefixes and suffixes like the real FundingGym and things like that, or is it strictly just the name you type in?
Do you look for the google.com?
It's true, but I would say like the real Kiyosaki, is it what is
yeah, I mean, if he was, again, he's a nice guy, so I don't want to throw him under the bus, but the reason why people choose the real because usually they were slow about securing the real estate. They started in one platform, and then later they're like, oh, I should get this other platform too. But somebody already beat them to it because now they have enough audience that they are valuable brand. And someone says, hey, I'm going to go grab the Rihanna website. Nobody else has it. Let me get it. My friend Chase made a lot of money as a 14-year-old. He's like 30 now. But as a 14-year-old, buying .coms for $6 or $7 and then selling them for $100 or $300, whatever. But there were all kinds of .com domains, and he did real estate squatting and sold them. He actually put, splash page up, whatever, to bring up the value first, and then he would market it to the person or the company, and then the person would say yes or no. And if they said no, then he's like, fine, I'll make it it'll be a revenue generator for advertising, regardless of whether you buy it from me or not, right? So you can do the same stuff. You should be doing the same stuff. Like there's going to be a new platform that comes out, GTTR or a competitor to Twitter or whatever. Whenever you see something like that, grab your domain, make sure that your content is uniform, because people don't need to remember, or they shouldn't. You should think ahead and say, I don't have a brand yet, but I'm going to. Let me make a list of 10 or 20 things. Do the search yourself on those 10 or 20 things to make sure that they're available on all platforms. And then always be conscious of your brand. Richard's protected a lot of stuff. There's a lot of Telegram rooms that are just derivatives, and he just holds them, right? He's got hundreds, if not thousands, of domains, so do the same thing.
That's true. Good point. Maybe you'll have at the best man in crypto one day, or he's probably registered that. He's probably got it in the back pocket there.
Yeah.
Fantastic, man. I'm gonna let you go. I'm sure you got stuff to do. Really appreciate your time. Chat, you killed it as usual. Chat has been great this one. Thanks for bringing the heat, man. Thanks. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast. I hope it's not the last time we chat. I know I'm gonna try to jump on your live streams in the future. Sounds like you got some more coming up too.
Yeah, like I said, I'm doing this thing. I saw that George is doing this Fit and Fresh tomorrow, but he starts in the morning. So I'm going to be at this event tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday. And then I'm going out of country until like the 8th. And then I'll be back in Puerto Rico, and we'll start launching some new content that has, again, it's not going to be specific targeting HEX or crypto or anything like that. It's going to be content for people that want to be launching new businesses, or they need capital of some sort to, get something mom and pop shop kind of thing going on, because I think that there's a big appetite for that already, and it will grow. People are looking for how they can generate side income, and I want to talk to that audience. I like that kind of hunger. Definitely,
for sure. Well, at FundingGym on Twitter, you can follow me at Richard. Sorry, I already messed it up. At RHMaximalist. At RHMaximalist, and apparently I need to register on OnlyFans as well, per FundingGym's suggestion, just in case. Yeah, go follow us both. Go to his channel, subscribe. You know what to do on my channel as well. Chat, you killed it. Bring more people in, more information, more knowledge sharing. I try to come prepared. I try to make great content, and try to have great guests. And today, I hope I ticked all those boxes for everyone. So, absolutely. Until next time, sir, have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy Miami, and everyone else out there, just take it easy.
All right. Thanks, guys.